What do you think about Dana White saying Tom didn't continue? And then also, who gives a shit to eye pokes?
Well, listen, I didn't continue. I'll tell you why I didn't continue. Because I'm not a f***ing dummy. Like, I'm not going to go out there and fight one of the best strikers in the world if I can't see.
So you're not too happy then on what the president of the organisation is saying towards it?
Well, what do you think?
It's almost hard to believe that UFC 321 was just over a month ago, because this eye poke controversy between Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane has been beaten into the ground so much that it feels like it's been forever. Did Cyril do it maliciously? Was Tom just milking it? Was it just over the eyelid or knuckle deep? Was it an eye poke or an eye gouge? Needless to say, it's become extremely redundant, but it also exposed Tom Aspinall to a truth that I kinda suspected all along. Dana White just doesn't like him. And I, along with many other fans, came to that realization after watching his post-fight media scrum.
I can't make people fight, right? If I want to put together a fight, I can't make people fight. And you definitely can't make somebody continue if they feel they've been injured. Only Tom knows what happened. You know, could he see, couldn't he see, could he continue? Only he knows that.
If you're familiar with Dana White, then you know that he's a person that constantly wears his feelings on his sleeve, and even when he's not saying anything egregious, you can always read between the lines to figure out what he actually means. When he's really fired up about something, he'll just come out and say it, but when he's not quite at that level, but still has a general aura of annoyance about him, he'll use an ambiguous phrase like only Tom knows what happened, which in Dana speak means I think Tom was losing the fight and took the easy way out. I mean, he pretty much slipped and said that verbatim later on in the interview.
I mean, he had Tom bloodied up, and you know, Tom didn't want to continue in the fight. So
the obvious question here is, why would the president of the UFC dislike the heavyweight champion of his own company? And most would probably assume that it has something to do with Jon Jones, who Dana was going to pay $30 million to face Tom Aspinall this year. And while that guess points to the right direction, it's not about Jon Jones necessarily, but why that fight needed to happen in the first place. As we found out recently with the announcements for UFC 324, Dana White does not care about anything other than fighter marketability. Diego Lopez was handed yet another rematch with Alexander Volkanovski, with two clearly more deserving contenders waiting in queue, and Paddy Pimblett was gifted an interim lightweight title shot against Arman Tsarukyan, who's been the obvious #1 contender for well over a year. And the message is transparently clear. We want popularity regardless of merit, which is where Dana's main gripe with Tom Aspinall comes in. While Tom is an excellent fighter, he does not for 1 second believe that he could be the superstar that revives the heavyweight division, which is why he tried everything in his power to get this fight with Jon Jones to happen. Think about it logically, while keeping in mind that all he cares about is marketability. If Tom were to win, he would receive a huge boost in popularity from becoming the first to defeat the company's GOAT and one of the UFC's last remaining pay-per-view superstars. And if Jon were to win, it would still be a massive and financially lucrative event to cap off 2025. Without it, in Dana's eyes, Tom is just another generic face in the heavyweight division, but with an inflated sense of self-worth because he happens to be the champion, which annoys him in the same exact way that somebody like Merab Dvalishvili does, who's currently breaking records at bantamweight only because Dana White can't find anybody to beat him. 15 years ago, the UFC would have done everything in their power to promote both of these guys and build their divisions around them, but ever since the explosion that was Conor McGregor, they just don't care to do the work. So now, instead of building somebody promising, they're constantly in search for a person that has already built themselves so that they can milk them and prop them up artificially with unfair opportunities and title shots that don't make any sense. If Dana White had the opportunity to cut Tom Aspinall and drag a 50-year-old Brock Lesnar in the octagon instead, the rest of TKO Group would be breaking out the cigars and champagne in the background. And it seems like company man Tom Aspinall is starting to read between the lines himself.
The notion of it being framed as Tom didn't want to continue, as opposed to he got poked in the eye, he couldn't see, he can't get that stuff. That phrase, the way that picture was painted, in the moment you're in the hospital, you're hearing this, you're seeing this, and how did that sit with you?
I was very disappointed. Yeah, very disappointed.
Do you think the way that was was phrased led to some of the criticism afterwards. In other words, if he would have come up and said, poked in the eye, illegal, couldn't see, couldn't continue, serious injury, etc., people would have laid off. They would have taken cues from him.
It definitely didn't help the cause. Definitely didn't.
If you still think my theory is out there, then consider the fact that while Dana White is known for hosting private dinners and backroom meetings with prospects that he considers to be promising, he doesn't even speak to Tom Aspinall.
Me and Dana don't really speak like that anyway, so...
Ever?
No.
You're a huge star. You've taken fights on short notice. You've been backup fighter. You stayed on the sidelines for etc. It surprises me a little bit, the face of the UK fight scene, all that stuff. It surprises me that you have no kind of relationship with him.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say. That's the way it is.
The other thing that Tom seems to have woken up to is the reality of the UFC's fan base. They love you one day and they hate you the next. And with a guy like him, who wasn't a household name or ever headlined a pay-per-view prior to the John Jones situation, the shift has been palpable. Look, I believe that Tom Aspinall is an extremely talented fighter, and I acknowledge that John Jones ducked him, but let's face facts. The majority of the reason why he got a recent surge in popularity is because people wanted to see John Jones lose. They built him up to be a juggernaut without ever watching or analyzing his fights, and were convinced that he was going to annihilate Cyril Gane because John Jones did. And when he actually showed vulnerability, the narrative immediately flipped from one extreme to the other.
And then I realized, like, oh, people genuinely think that I faked this. People actually think that I was faking it. And then I was like, did people actually see the replay of what happened? Because that was a full-on eye poke. So then I was like, what is going on? Why are people thinking I'm faking this, like, after everything that I've been through to get there? So then I left it quite a while. I thought, right, I'm going to get all the doctor's notes included. I've been through it for like loads and loads of tests for weeks. I've literally been in the hospital 2 or 3 times a week getting different tests. Then I come up with a doctor's report, and then people are like, oh, he's crying about it. He's doing a media tour on it. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here? Like, I didn't make this up. Go watch the replay, check out the doctor's reports. You just cannot please these guys. These guys are losers, man. These guys are just crazy haters who have got nothing good going on in their life.
I feel his pain, but the fault is not really with the fans. Not many people have the time or the patience to comb through fights and form an objective and unbiased opinion. They almost always go with the narrative that's been painted on social media, which is that Quitter Tom quit on an eye poke that didn't even look that bad. They're not going to watch the half-an-hour long interviews where Tom clarifies that most of the damage was done to the back of the eyeball, so while it didn't necessarily look bad, it most certainly was. In the same exact way that they never researched how Cyril Gane fights and understand why him and Tom Aspinall was such an intriguing matchup. And I can't blame this on Tom Aspinall either, because he took every opportunity he could to tell the media that this was going to be an extremely difficult fight. Who I do blame is the UFC themselves for once again failing to properly promote a fight, leading to an extremely unrealistic expectation. Essentially throwing all of the organic hype generated by the John Jones situation squarely in the trash. And while that's a real shame, it's also really expected. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And if you want to support this channel further, become a member by hitting join if you're on Android or desktop, or the link in the description if you're on iOS.
There was this big notion in the media before that I'm just going to run through Cyril Gane. Look, I might look like an idiot. Sometimes I might even talk like an idiot, but when it comes to fighting, I know what I'm talking about, and I know that Cyril Gane is a tough matchup for me. Really good defensively. I knew that if we want to break the fight down a little bit, Cyril's got really good defense. He moves really, really well on his feet. I knew that I have to stand in range and take a few punches from Cyril to be able to land my own shots. Go and look at my pre-fight stuff. I knew this was going to be a long and tough fight. I think that every fight I go into, and I really respect my opponent, especially Cyril. I think there's this notion with the media and maybe the fans that Cyril's not very good, which is just complete. I think that he's really, really good. He's super talented. He's been at the top of division for a number of years, which is not easy to do. He's been an interim champion himself. He's obviously had 2 title shots for the undisputed title as well. So I think the guy's really good. I've took him extremely, extremely seriously. The fact that people expect it to be an easy fight, I don't read into that at all. I think I'm prepared for a really, really hard fight.